All right, I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Cordova Recreation and Park District this Wednesday, March 20th at 6:30 PM.
Thank you, Chair Yearwood. To lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, I'd like to welcome to the podium Ryan Brown, who is the Vice Chair of our PMRID Oversight Committee.
Wonderful. If you all stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, I guess we'll move on to the roll call.
Director Reyes? Here. Director Lineback?
Here.
Secretary Sloan? Present. Vice Chair Danzel?
Here.
And Chair Yearwood.
Here. All right, I guess now it's time to see if anybody has anything they'd like to disclose about, any board disclosures about any action items from this evening? All right, seeing none, I guess we'll move on to comments by the public, non-agenda items.
Thank you. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It is a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And I do not have any speaker cards at this time.
All right, well, I guess we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion unless separate action on a specific item is necessary. The chairperson will consider any request for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. This evening, we have 3 items on the consent calendar for your consideration. Item C1 is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors on February 20th, 2019. Item C2 is the district financial report for February 2019. And item C3 is to adopt Resolution 18/19-37, accepting the notice of completion for the Heron Landing Community Park Tennis Court Shelter Project.
All right, anyone wish to have a discussion of any of the items? A motion?
If not, I'll make a motion. I move that we accept all items on the consent calendar, C1, C2, and C3.
All right, motion by
Second.
Secretary Sloan, second by Director Reyes. All right, roll call vote.
Director Reyes?
Aye.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Secretary Sloan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Danzel?
Aye.
And Chair Yearwood.
Aye. All right, looks like we'll move on to presentations.
Thank you, Chair Yearwood. Item D1 is a presentation by staff on the Mather Sports Center Enhancement Project. This is an informative presentation only, no action to be taken by the Board of Directors. And I'll turn it over to Assistant Administrator Jill Nuns.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Directors, Chair Yearwood. The Mather Sports Center project. Wow, what a project. Just goes to show the power of those partnerships. How many partners we had just made this project outstanding. So what I want to do tonight is just run through the Mather Sports Center and all the improvements that we've made. But why MSC? Why did we decide MSC? Well, one, because the Kings approached us and wanted to do a floor refinishing. But in the meantime, we also pulled some statistics. So we have about 22,000 searches per month, over 60,000 views, and a 4.5-star rating on Google. That's pretty darn good. So our Mather Sports Center is our most sought-out community center for all of the recreation needs. And that's because we do have a gymnasium there. We have, racquetball courts, fitness center, and we also have a lot of contract classes. So in addition to the Mather Sports Center, it has also provided the community with a place to stay healthy and active for over 52 years. With this in mind, the CRPD sought out partners who could help improve this community center. So our partners. This project was brought to you by the Sacramento Kings, by the Good Tidings Foundation, Kaiser Permanente, and Sac County. And so the Sacramento Kings, we met with the Sacramento Kings, over a year ago. Also with Phil Cerna from Sac County and Don Natoli. And this is how this project came to fruition. So after meeting with the Kings met with the Good Tidings Foundation. They're kind of the go-between. They're the ones who actually help build the floor. They have the contractors that are able to resurface the floor. So the Kings and Good Tidings, huge partners within this. And then the Kings went after Kaiser Permanente, who also donated $15,000 to this project. And then, of course, Sacramento County with their donation of $19,922. And then we had the remainder of the contribution was just about $3,500. And this is just for the floor. Okay, so the floor and the basketball hoops. We have 2 brand new basketball hoops. So, what we say here is together we can thrive, right? That's Kaiser Permanente's slogan, and wow, did we thrive. This court is just amazing. And again, the power of the partnerships is huge. It's for our community, it's for the kids, it's for the adults, and it gives them a place to be active, to come in, relieve their stress for the day. And so far, everyone who has stepped onto that floor has just been amazed by the refinishing. It's just, I can't say enough about it. It's amazing. So let's run through sort of what the floor is all about and some of the improvements we've made around the Mather Sports Center. So the first thing we started with before the floor project actually came to fruition is we knew that the outside of that building needed some painting. It needed some love. It was time. So Christina James, I love Christina James. She is amazing. She has helped us with this project. Thank you, Christina. And we were able to get a contractor out here to take a look at the outside of the building and give us some quotes. So this is just one picture of the outside of the building before it got painted, and this is the after. I mean, what a difference, right? And then, just the green, we decided to go with the green. It's a park color. We felt like it would blend in with everything else. It blends in with the dugouts, so that's why we chose the green. You can see the exterior before. On the left-hand side is an outside exterior, and you could see that the paint was coming off so much that the water was actually seeping indoors. So huge problems. I'm really glad we were able to take care of that before we had any more damage inside. And on the right side, you just see that's inside the building. The top part is painted, but the bottom part is really what that wall looked like before we got some paint on there. The basketball hoop, so that's the old basketball hoop. And it's kind of hard to take a picture of the hoops, but that thing was, it was not looking good. It was kind of hanging there. The foam was coming off. We had glued it back on several times. And then the Kings came in with Good Tidings, and boom, we've got 2 brand new hoops, and they look amazing. So we're really appreciative of that. Here's the inside and what the inside used to look like. We have the old bleachers, the wooden bleachers, as well as the murals on the wall. And we decided kind of at the last minute, again, Christina James, thank you. At the last minute, we decided to pull the bleachers from the Mather Sports Center. And here's why. That's twofold. One, they were really old. And we got to a point where when we would pull those bleachers out, they were actually scratching the floor. And so we thought, oh, geez, we're going to get a brand new floor, and then we're going to have these bleachers in there, and it's going to scratch the floor. And the second part is many of them were broken. And we felt like that was a safety issue. So we worked with, Christina worked with the company who was doing the paint job, and we removed all of the bleachers. So now that's what it looks like. A fresh coat of paint on there. We also painted, you can tell by the windows, we painted those boards the purple color so it would match the floor. That is the actual color of the Kings logo. And then in the future, and I'll get to this in a future slide, we will be replacing the wall pads eventually as well. But look at the difference. It's just amazing. So old floor. This is what the old floor looked like with layers and layers and layers of whatever on top of it. Some other pictures of the floor, you can see how it needed lots and lots of love. So all those before, and then here's the after. And wow, what a difference. Shiny, you can see it, from our new lights. You can see the floor shining from those. The new paint, we've got some new banners up. Again, thanking our sponsors, thanking Sac County as a partner, and then you can see our new bleachers. So this project also afforded us the ability to buy 4 brand new portable bleachers. So those can be moved around. because as we start our new youth basketball league, we're going to be going cross court. So these bleachers then can be moved so that fans can see the cross court games from bleachers instead of just standing on the sidelines. So we went with, portable. We call them portable. We can move them anywhere we want within the gymnasium, or if we have a big enough event, we can also move them out like we had at the grand opening, the ribbon cutting. You didn't see the bleachers in there. We removed them at that point. So just another picture of the interior with our Cordova banner. We felt it was important to get our logo up on the wall. So Katie Nagy-Chow worked with a new company that we're using for the banners. Cost effective, they look great. So now we've got our logo up there. Okay. Lights. So before we had these chunky lights. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. It didn't like the gymnasium very well. So Park Planning worked with SMUD, another great partner who helped us out with this project. And in return, we got these amazing lights, cost effective. They're motion sensors. So if you walk into the gym, the first part of the lights will go on, but the back part won't. So we can actually have people playing on that right by the door where the entrance is. Those lights would be on when people are playing, and then not until they cross court do the additional lights come on. So definitely going to help out with our electricity bill. They look great. The gymnasium looks great. And those lights are throughout the entire center. So that project was partly for the gym, but it also helped out with the remaining parts of the building. And they look fantastic. And all of our wonderful customers have told us that they're really appreciative of that. So future improvements, we need to find a little bit more money, but we are wanting to put wall padding underneath all of our baskets. So you saw from the prior picture, right now it's blue and red, and they're kind of beaten up. And we'd like to put padding on the main court. So the full-length court, we want to change out that padding. And then because we will be running youth basketball, we want to put padding underneath the cross-court hoops as well. And so we're working with BSN right now to get the final costs of what that would be. We're thinking it's going to be around the $7,500 mark. So we're working with them, and then we'll get some clarity of how we're going to move forward with those pads. But we do need them, so hopefully we can find some funding and get that project done soon. And then the next and last thing for the Mather Sports Center that we need to do is we need some signage. As you can tell, when you walk up to or drive up to that building, you don't know what that building is. The only sign that's on that building is the address, and it doesn't say anything that it's a CRPD property. It doesn't say it's the Mather Sports Center. So people get confused about what this building is. And so we need to celebrate this amazing building and all of the amenities that we have inside there. So what we planned, and the entrance, because right now people don't even know that this is the entrance because it has nothing on it to date. So we're working with a sign company to get some quotes, but this is what our plan is to have the main entrance telling people where it is, that it's the Mather Sports Center. And then on the sides, as you drive up, kind of pointing people to where the entrance is, because again, they're a little lost with how do I get to this building? How do I get into this building? And then making sure we brand ourselves. This is where I want to put the logo, the CRPD logo, and celebrate this amazing building, and then make sure people know again what it is. And so this is from the street view that would tell us that it's Cordova is going to go on one side and the Mather Sports Center is going to go on the other side. And then we'll have arrows that kind of point people in the right direction. So our contributions to this project to date is the interior and exterior painting. We have the SMUD lighting project. Again, SMUD, it's a rebate. So SMUD put in some money, we put in some money. The floor refinishing, what our contribution was, and then just miscellaneous, the bleachers, the banners, some cove base for the floor. So total to date is about $78,441. And then hopefully, between the new signs and the wall pads, it might be another maybe 13.5. So we're still working through that. But the icing on the cake for this entire project is that we are offering a Junior Kings basketball league for the youth. And we have over 100 participants signed up for our spring league, 12 teams. So this is what it's all about. We have not had youth basketball in the district for a really, really long time. Super proud of the recreation staff. And this is just the spring league, which is not typically a basketball season. We just wanted to kick it off and say, hey, here's our new floor, come out and play, and they have. So our big season, we're crossing our fingers, will be in the fall, kind of the fall, winter. We'll be offering, again, another Junior Kings League. And in the meantime, the Kings, they don't just build this floor and go away. So we get to work with the Kings, and they'll come out and they'll do clinics throughout the year. All we need to do is set up some clinics. It'll be, hopefully a free clinic to the kids. They'll bring players, they'll bring Slamson, they'll bring whomever. And so we'll continue that partnership with the Kings, moving us forward so that we're able to have this space for kids to get out in a safe, sustainable, environment. And that's really what it's all about. I have to say thank you to the Park Planning Department. Every single one of them helped us with this project. It was a last-minute project, and without them, this project definitely wouldn't have come to fruition. So please give Park Planning a round of applause. They're amazing. Recreation staff did a great job. It was really, truly a team effort throughout the entire district. So we have partners, within making this floor come to fruition, but then the teamwork inside, through the CRPD is just amazing. So with that, that's my presentation on the Mather Sports Center. You guys have any questions?
I have a question. So I was just looking on the reviews, and I saw the 1-1 that we got, and it mentions that this place needs air conditioning badly. Is that still the issue? Because that was about 9 months ago.
We would love air conditioning, but it's something that we have put into our capital improvement plan in terms of looking into the possibilities of getting air conditioning into that building. And so when people talk about the air conditioning, part of the Mather Sports Center does have air conditioning. Unfortunately, the gymnasium does not. So we have in the winter where it does get a little cold, there's times where it's a little chilly, and then in the summer we get the reverse where it's a little hot. So we've identified that as something that we hope to be able to get in the future, but it's a costly project, a very, very costly project. So I know that Park Planning is in the process of looking at alternatives to maybe not doing air conditioning, but another method to try to get some fresh air in there. But we don't have a solution yet, but we are working on that.
Right. Yeah. I wanted also a little bit more information about the basketball league.
Sure.
It's only 6 to 10-year-olds. That's amazing because, this is like just kicking it off to have that many people interested. And so they're possibly thinking of next year making it, maybe inviting 5th grades or 6th grades in, making it a lot bigger spread there.
We're actually going to go younger as well.
Oh.
So we're going to start at 5-year-olds because we want to make sure that we give them a wonderful experience within our leagues, and I know that we are going to knock it out of the park and how we're going to coordinate this youth basketball league. And so we want to grab them when they're early and keep them for their entire basketball career at CRPD. So we're going to start, definitely going to start with 5-year-olds. We're not positive how old we're going to get because we also don't want to duplicate services within the community. And there are other organizations that are running those 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th grade leagues. And
Can you name those organizations?
So it's through the RCAA. There's a couple organizations that are running those older age groups.
The cross thing?
Mm-hmm. So we don't want to step on their toes, and it sounds like they have a very successful program. So we'll continue. If there's a need, we'll definitely reach out to them and say, hey, are you guys open to us running this age group? But right now, we definitely don't want to step on their toes.
Well, I know there's a need because there's a lot of kids that are up to the 6th grade before somebody, I guess they're not going to be 6th grade anymore. I found that out. They're going to go to junior high. But that fifth grade level is,
Okay.
it's above the 10-year-olds. It's probably 11 or 12-year-olds that really have nothing.
Okay.
And they don't do that, the other league, and if it's something that the rec department can offer, you'll see there's a lot of people out there, and there's plenty of kids, I think, that are in need of it, so,
Sounds good. We'll definitely look into that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to comment, it happened so quickly.
It did. Yes.
Like you said, I think, the synergy was so good, everything happened. District administrator, who's going to be general manager, Larkin, you did a good job jumping on it when the opportunity was brought up. That was really important, because, I've experienced a lot of this, talking to Don or so, and then it just goes nowhere. But I do remember the time we spoke with him about it, and I'm very glad you really took it right away.
And this is the first indoor court
Yeah.
that the Sacramento Kings
Yeah.
have done, so.
And it's
And I'm at the
great.
CPRS conference this week, and I've had several people say, how did you guys get this done?
There you go.
I said, I'm not telling you my secrets, come on.
Do you guys have a tour out there from the,
We did not,
oh, you did?
yeah. So people are gonna come by and see it from other agencies, which is really exciting, and it's exciting for them to be able to have this opportunity as well.
All right, thank you.
All right, yes, wonderful. Great job, everyone.
Great, thank you.
All right. I guess we'll move on to D2.
Chair Yearwood, if you don't mind and the board doesn't mind, we actually would like to go out of agenda order a little bit before our next presentation. We do have a special guest in the audience that contacted us and would like to do a presentation. So I'd like to welcome to the podium the SACFIT organization.
Is this D, would it be D3? No?
This would have been under public comment.
Sorry, yep, I'll get out of here in a minute.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. I was here a little over a year ago and planning with some of your great staff. And I wanted to follow up and I guess echo the theme of this particular Parks District, and that is getting things done and getting things done quickly. Because I had the very similar experience. And I once again want to just thank the district and the board members and the staff members who were very instrumental in getting this going. What we did was we proposed with funding that we'd had over the years from our race, of which half of it is run through Rancho Cordova, a drinking fountain in a very strategic place that over the years, as I had described, the fountains have been disappearing for one reason or the other. I think mostly maintenance issues, things of that nature from the Sac County. But you guys stepped right up. You liked the idea. It wasn't that we came together with something that was put together very quickly or required some cutting corners in terms of an idea. We presented a thoughtful idea, and you guys were receptive to it and moved very quickly. I'm pleased to let you guys know that this drinking fountain, I run that by the area about 5 times a week. It is part of my morning routine, and I watch others from afar using the drinking fountain, and it's just a joy to watch something that is vitally needed, much admired and used by all the Parkway users, and that all of you were responsible for getting going. So I brought together some personalized thank you medals for everybody today. It's a memento of of our thankfulness and gratitude for you taking a private citizen and a nonprofit event and hearing what we had to say and allowing a vision of a project to come to fruition. It doesn't happen often, but as I'm learning, in Rancho Cordova, it seems to happen a lot. So if, I don't know if you guys want to, I can just come to present to you, or how would you like to do that? Or afterwards? I don't want to waste your time.
I don't do it. Go down there? Come on up, let's do a picture. Yeah, come on.
Okay. Oh, Jill, I think I have one for you as well. And Christina. Very instrumental.
No, I'm having issues anyway, so it's.
Okay, where's Rick? Rick? Yeah. These are the actual medals that we passed out at the end of the race. Yeah, so this is Inez.
We don't even have to run.
Well, you guys run a great park district. Where's Patrick? You are, sir. Thank you. Sure.
Okay.
And we have Brian. Where's Brian? Brian, here you are, sir. Michael. And Terry. Here you are, Terry.
It's in a few weeks, Patrick. You'll be fine. I'll let Larry from the water. Come on together. He's warming it up. Very good. They have to wait for the flash, though. Jill, do you want to turn yours around? Yeah, Chris Parkway. Okay. There we go.
I got it.
Well, thank you.
Sometimes they don't, yeah. One more little, he's gonna go a little closer.
That's about as close as everybody's capturing everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
There's a 13 run, there's a 13 walk. Patrick.
Display case that we don't have.
That's my right foot is still feeling. There's only one of the only ones that has two different courses, Patrick. One goes upriver, one goes downriver. Well, this is probably a nice run.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
oh.
We still got.
All
I
right.
feel like I've been knighted. You can call me sir.
All right,
It's
so
slow now.
we'll move back to D2.
I have a medal.
Are you sure? D2? Did I hear D2?
Hurry up before somebody else arrives.
I heard K.
Thank you. Item D2 is a presentation by staff on the Cordova Golf Course. Board feedback and direction on the item are sought. No formal action to be taken at this meeting. And I'll turn it over to Finance Manager Matt Goodell.
All right. Good evening, Chair Yearwood and board members. Tonight, I want to present and have a discussion about the state of the golf course that we have. For the past few years, we've made attempts to increase play and increase revenue. And now is the time to report out on what those results mean. We are entering into budget season for the upcoming year, and the staff is kind of stuck on the realities that we're facing and the numbers to balance. So first, I think it's important to understand how the district acquired the property to begin with. The district purchased the golf course parcels totaling 80 acres, shown here at the red boundary. And the board members at the time adopted this resolution showing that in March of 1973 for the price of $290,000. That was the purchase price. In the fine small print, right? And the district also took out a 10-year promissory note with the financial institution for $400,000. So that's what the ending final sales price was for the golf course. In August of 2005, the district purchased the old McDonald Farm property of 5 acres for $1.5 million. And it's highlighted there in the blue rectangle. And then the following year, in 2006, the district purchased 9405 Jackson Highway, which is a 1.8 frontage parcel for a consideration of $850,000. Okay, so all the highlighted areas are the ones that the CRPD owns. All in all, it's 87 acres of property that the district paid $2.75 million for. It's also noteworthy that the blue rectangles are zoned as light industrial commercial. The red is zoned as recreational open space. And then we have this interesting northern section that I'll highlight in orange. It's a small chunky piece. It's on hole 6, if you're familiar with the layout on the back end near the homes. It's a buffer, it's kind of a ditch, and that is zoned as residential. So we have all kinds of zoning going on for the properties that we have. The golf course operates as an enterprise fund, and what exactly does that mean? Well, an enterprise fund is a self-supporting government fund that sells goods and services to the public for a fee. Plain and simple. Makes sense, right? But how is that fee set? Well, prices are established by market rates and are intended to cover the cost of the operations, repairs, replacements, debt service, capital improvements, and projects in the reserves for that fund. Okay, that's the goal. That's the intent. Doesn't always happen. So when it doesn't, how does that cash flow work? How does working capital work? Funds can be transferred from the enterprise fund to the general fund and be used for other purposes, for governmental purposes, and vice versa. The general fund can subsidize the enterprise fund when there's a loss to make it whole. Okay, so there's no wall, there's no barrier. Funds can flow between the two. Kind of contradicts the original statement of being self-supporting, but there's an intent, and then there's the flexibility side of it, okay? So the true impact of being labeled an enterprise fund is this: that enterprise fund follows the same generally accepted accounting principles as a private sector business. Okay, so there's just different rules that it must follow. And in my world, that's the finance department's responsibility, how we account for accounting records, how we summarize it into financial statements, and in the end of the day, how it looks, how it's represented in our audit. That's why the golf course is always like a separate financial statements from the other governmental funds in our audit. Okay, it has to be treated differently as a business-like entity. That's really the difference of calling it an enterprise fund versus not, okay? So working capital can work, whether it's an enterprise fund or not. So I just want to be clear about that. So I want to show you a 10-year performance graph of the golf course revenue using data from those annual audits that we've done. Okay, so over 10 years ago, the golf course was receiving $1 to $1.2 million in rounds played revenue, okay? Since then, it's declined to where our target that we set now is between $600,000 and $700,000 annually. That's almost a 50% reduction from 10 years ago. The course was getting about 50,000 rounds at that time, and now we're settling below the 30,000 mark. As a matter of fact, to date, we're at 17,000. Okay, so we're probably gonna have the lowest amount of rounds ever that we've ever had out there. And this doesn't help, right? This is our golf course, picture taken this month. Could have been taken in February and January, not sure. We've been closed for 42 days in 2019 alone, okay? So it's hard to start a conversation about next year's operation budget when this is happening, okay? So it's critical for this course, if continued, that infrastructure becomes part of that equation. Okay, we have to work that piece in. So let's take a look at our expenses the past 10 years. It's represented here in that red line, okay? So for the most part, our expenditures, our spending has exceeded our revenues, all right? It doesn't include capital improvements or replacement plan or reserves. It's just standard operation cost, okay? The orange profit line below it has been consistently below zero every year and not meeting that cost recovery expectation that an enterprise fund calls for. If you add all those net losses together, the general fund has subsidized the golf course over the last 10 years, $1 million, okay? Now sure, looking at the last 4 years, you could say that it's stabilized and it's kind of acting like an enterprise fund should, right? Being self-supporting, which sounds positive. But if you look at the revenues, they're declining and we're working bare bones, okay? Our equipment has met its life cycle, not enough staff, not enough to make it a course that's playable. And there's nothing in the reserve tanks to fix this right now, no plan, okay? So staff is trying to sharpen our pencil, put together a thoughtful proposal, right, for a course that's optimal, for something our customers can enjoy and be proud of, a place of pride for the district and its employees. And so this is our first stab at it, okay? It's what I call essential services, what we need today to make this a standard level playable course. So it has your operating expenses, your labor, your services, supplies, your utilities. It has landscape equipment needed now, because again, they've met their life cycle, all right, way past their life cycle. It includes a golf cart lease of $50,000 for the whole entire fleet, and that's an amount that we pay annually for 5 years, okay, and other pieces of equipment. So that bottom line is $1.45 million that we need today to get this place at a standard operating optimal level. And if you recall, that revenue projection that I just talked about last slide was 600 to 700,000. That's kind of our target that we're going for. So that's about 50% to cover that cost. All right. Now, if we think about tomorrow, not just today, but if we think about tomorrow, I call this the strategic phase, okay? It's being smart and thinking about the next thing. Drainage is detrimental to our operation, as I previously shown in those pictures. Some buildings are falling apart, pathways beat up, and a parking lot that requires an overlay, along with other needs that we have at our range, our dispenser, our lights, that kind of thing. So that price tag, without knowing our drainage, because we have to have that surveyed, there's a lot of variables in that, elevations and things like that, how drainage would work, it's $5.6 million. So that's something that we need to be strategic and save for. And we're not even done. We got to think about tomorrow. You know, we got to think about the future to keep it sustainable. Money not necessarily that we need today, but definitely a replacement plan for things like our pro shop, restaurant, irrigation and pump system overall, and fixing the net at the driving range. Another $5 million price tag. Okay. So hefty price tag, which is why we're concerned about creating this budget this year. We want players on our course enjoying the sport because they have other golf course options. And this is a map. It's a 30-minute drive radius around the Sacramento area, and it represents 44 golf courses within that radius. Okay. If we take a closer look at our area, these are 5-mile radius of circles of all the golf courses around us. The Cordova golf course is represented by the middle one, the red one. These are all the courses that we have surrounding us. So the market is competitively saturated. It really is. Okay. Like I mentioned, we've tried to make improvements, right, to make it better, to increase revenue. We had new tee boxes done. We removed the old railroad ties, and we set up concrete barriers, right? We added another irrigation pond. We took out the weeds between 10 and 18 and created another irrigation pond. We renovated the course and corporation yard bathrooms. There they are. We added programming options like foot golf, try to infuse some more revenue. We contracted with the new restaurant concessionaire and menu. You couple that with the strong economy that's happening right now, and superintendent, right? Superintendent also has done a great job managing that course. I hear comments a lot that this is the most playable it's been in years, right? So you couple that with a strong economy, and you think that would translate to increasing revenues, right? That's our goal. That's our goal. But that hasn't been the case, okay? So why now? Next year, fiscal budget, right? That's what we're working on right now. The proposal for expenses exceeds the revenue projections that we have, and the need to subsidize is evident, okay? Only options that finance can really think of at this time is an already stressed general fund that we're trying to build its own reserves, right? We have assessments, we have PMRID, we have My Parks, but we would have to reallocate park operation funds already set aside or capital improvement project funds that we've already vetted out through an oversight committee meeting, right? Projects that we've already set aside in order to redirect those funds towards this golf course. Ending contract of our current operator, okay, that ends on June 30th. And so that leads to a pending recruitment for a golf course manager and hiring a mechanic too. We have urgent upcoming expenses. that we talked about already, the critical need for equipment that's outlived its life cycle, and a golf cart fleet desperately needs to be done. We don't have a master plan, right? If we do this, if we continue operations, we need to think bigger picture of what the plan is for this golf course, this property. And the infrastructure needs to be part of the equation. That drainage, irrigation system, and the buildings have to be part of that plan. So we will continue to be transparent throughout this thought process. We'll welcome the opportunity for anyone, especially the public, to address the board, staff anytime. And we're going to continue this discussion at our next scheduled Budget and Finance Committee meeting, okay? And that's scheduled for March 26th, which is next Tuesday. And we're also going to bring forward at the next board meeting on Wednesday, April 17th, options and recommendation based on some, hopefully, feedback here. So this concludes my report of the Cordova Golf Course. I welcome that feedback, so staff and myself can research, find best solutions for this challenge that we're currently facing. So the reality of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what,
Hold on. We'll try to go in order. Director Reyes, do you have any questions or comments? Or
No, I know I'm very concerned about the amount of money it's going to take to bring it even to just what we call working abilities, and yet at the same time not have the revenues coming in. So that's a concern. I'm hoping we can get staff to come up with different options that'll benefit our community, the people we serve. You know, because I do know at one time when they turned it into the enterprise zone, I guess at that point it was like 150,000 or so was loaned, and it just since then on, it's been the general fund that's been subsidizing it. And, you know, and it's regional, and so we have to, that's taxpayers' money that's been, you know, subsidizing it. So that's my only comment at this point. We hope we can find and, you know, deal with whatever options we're faced.
all right. Director Lambach?
You mentioned that the course has been closed either 41 or 42 days so far this year. What is the average number of weather closures in a given year? Do you know? Do you have an idea of how this is trending compared to other years?
Yeah, we always call every year, it seems like special. Like it seems like a drought. But now we have the opposite problem, right? The course is too dry and hard pan to play on. We got to find patches of grass to hit your ball. You know, now when it rains, the problem with our course is it's flat. And so other courses have drainage or different elevations and slopes where the water can move away. And maybe they play without carts on the fairways. Us, we can't even do that. The water stands because it's flat. It's flat property without proper drainage. And so when it rains, a lot of places are closed. But when the sun comes out the following day, other places can open. Ours has to remain closed because of that. So every time it rains enough, we're extending that closure day past just 1 or 2 days. And so where is it on par with other years? Again, it's always something special, right? We had smoke in November close our golf course. And so it just seems like something always happens that we have to close the golf course. But I don't have those numbers readily available, but it seems like, yeah, maybe this is a one-off that we're having this many closures, but no, it seems like every year we are closed quite often.
No, I understand that different conditions cause closures. I was just wondering, when you look at revenues, is this a worse year for closures than usual? I know that the conditions that cause closures are variable, but there's got to be an average in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So that would be my question.
You know, now that I think about it, because we also, it affects concessions. So, yeah, this is definitely more than normal. I mean, 42 days is a lot, and not even 3 months period of time. But it is common that we could be closed for up to a week when it rains. So, but I don't know the exact number of days that we've been closed other years.
Okay.
But I will definitely find out.
Yeah, it would be good to know. And you had a list of equipment that is needed, how much of that has to be purchased outright versus a 3 to 5 year lease, say, to spread the cost?
Right, we can definitely spread that cost out. So that is the full purchase price of that. So if we had to, we can, that's another way of spreading that cost out, correct? We could lease it.
And I'm just wondering about, with the contract ending June 30th, with the old golf course manager, giving the district an opportunity to make some other kinds of strategic changes, whether we can see if we can improve the revenue outlook based on a change in management strategies and style and decisions.
Yeah, that has been discussed. Recreation has been looking into taking that role and housing it in-house with the general manager and staff, proper staff to make it work. That's going to increase our salary expense, of course, but hopefully that turns around to some kind of revenue. Once you see the gravity of the other costs that we need to make that course marketable, I think it's just stopped that conversation of potential. But that is definitely an option that we could look at for running it in-house through our recreation department. But yeah, it's a heavy price tag, like I said, to take care of it.
The original RFP, do you want to discuss that?
Yeah, so in 2016, you probably recall, we put it on an RFP to have a general management company come and take it over. And we did have 5 inquiring parties. I did a walking tour, 3 showed up, and we had really good conversations and some excitement. And then when it came to the application process, we only had 1 internal candidate that put in for that application. And so everyone backed out. They just said that there wasn't anything for us to invest. They wanted us as the owner to invest money and for them to manage that money, basically. So they wanted the course and our money to manage that, and we didn't have that piece of the pie at the
No,
time.
I understand that an outside management firm is not in play. I mean,
Right.
that has already been looked at and attempted.
We looked at it again, too, and it's just no.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
right.
I was talking more about district management maybe making improvements over there, but, yeah.
It's something we're discussing.
All right, Secretary Sloan?
Yeah, sort of a no-win situation here when you have an aging facility. You look at our pool, the Hagen pool, you look at the shooting center. These are all, at one time were top-notch facilities, and for some reason we didn't have the right type of funding to go into keep them going. But we're making great leaps and bounds of getting these things fixed. But I can't see. I mean, all of a sudden we're going to now think about closing another facility, and I definitely am not into that without at least really brainstorming some great ideas. We have a course. If you go and just read some of the reviews on Yelp of that course, people keep giving it a chance because they live close to that course. It's nice, and you get these ups and down reviews. It's like, yeah, I know there's going to be water out there at times, especially we've had a lot of water and a lot of one-time water, which has probably caused that major flood we got going. But you've got other things that have been factoring in to, I think, less and less patronage. And I just think that there are ways to get, I mean, maybe are we still doing the youth classes and stuff like that? Maybe we stopped all these things in 2016. Because I was looking at some of the reviews. I don't see how, I'd like to really look at how we have been promoting it, besides just a Groupon or in the entertainment book. I want to see some definite more effort in getting people out there. And if we have to get them out there, play golf for $15. Do something. Maybe people would like, wow, it's really worth it because it's a good deal. You might have some dry grass here, or you might have a flood over there, but this is golf. It's part of the game. And so I think there's a lot we have to look at here before we just think about closing it down,
I know we've discounted it. It's kind of fascinating to me. The way I look at it is that you think in a strong economy that people will come out and play, but I think that's kind of hurting us because if people have options with money in their pockets, are they going to play our course discounted, or are they going to play other courses who are at the same time discounting their level of cost for more country club feel? And so I think the options, the strong economy and everyone else, fighting, it's such a saturated market that they're fighting for those golfers, that they're also discounting their country club level courses to bring those golfers there. And I think that's why we're losing the numbers.
Right, I see that a lot going on. I mean, they're offering the package deal. You can play golf, round of golf with a cart and lunch for $25.
So price to me isn't the factor, and that's what's hurting us.
Well, then, do we have surveys that people can fill out? Do every golfer who plays there, if you fill out a survey, they get a free bucket of ball or something? Let's find out what it's lacking, what the golfers really would like to see out there, and find ways to get the youth out there. I mean, it's a sport that's gone up and down. The year Tiger Woods became a pro, the youth sports playing golf was astronomical. It was off the charts. And then as his career started winding down, he's making a comeback now. It's really changed the whole demographics of the golf game. So I don't know what other agencies are doing. I know what a lot of the other courses in Sacramento are doing, but I'd like to see what Salgate is doing. I know they have people that are buying into like memberships into the golf course. You can pay for a yearly, maybe it costs you $1,000, but you get to play whenever you want. It's just like that. Something like that is kind of, maybe that's what we need to look into. There are different steps here, and I'd like to just see what is out there, what other courses are doing.
I think the difficult part of that is when you sell a membership, there's an expectation that they're going to be able to play whenever they want. We've been closed 42 days. That's what makes it really hard.
People understand that. I understand that. I'm not going to go
Probably don't
swimming
want
in the
their
middle
money
of
back.
winter either.
Yeah.
So I know the pools, even though the pool's open, I understand that. People
Yeah.
understand that. That's part of the life. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I decided I was going to. So Director Lineback talked about equipment. Are those prices all new equipment? Because I know in the past we've used our brains and we've heard in the past lots of golf courses closing. Obviously, that's not where we want to be, but to buy equipment, decent equipment, something that's going to get us through for, another 5 years as we start, like we have in everything else, started to accumulate funds and cut back on certain things so we can save money for these. Are those all new prices, Mr. Goodall, or are those?
Our new prices.
They are new prices,
Yeah.
okay.
And I know we're trying to avoid, I don't know if you've been out by the courtyard, but it's been cleaned up, right? I mean, there used to be just a boneyard of mechanical parts all over the place. And,
Yes.
and so that's been cleaned up. And so we're trying to have proper tools, I think, for our staff to use is very crucial. And so looking at other ways on how to finance those things is probably the best way to do it instead of going out and buying something that could break tomorrow, especially when we don't have a mechanic on staff out there. And so I know we always want to have the proper tools for staff.
I agree, but, there is that time and place where, you buy new and it's great, we have new, but we have to, if we want to continue to, do things, we have to look at other options sometimes.
Right, and that's always an option
So,
too.
That's, where I sit, and I understand where Secretary Sloan's coming from when Tiger was, 16 playing, but there's nobody out there right now, and unfortunately, the biggest thing I would have to say is probably your play out there is, and I don't know if the high schools are counted into that play time, because you've got Rosemont High School, Cordova High School that both use that on the boys and girls side, and then for their home matches, and then the teams that they come in. I don't know if that counts into that 170 or whatever that figure was.
It's paid rounds.
It's
Yeah.
paid rounds, so
Yeah.
then, okay, so that probably is included in there. So, we're talking a lot less than really. So, okay, great,
Pretty
thank you.
casual golfer, correct.
All right, I don't have a whole lot to add other than I know you will do your due diligence and come back with options for us, and I hope, again, it's never I mean, I guess we need to look at everything. That's a lot of money to spend, and are we gonna get a return on our investment, so to speak? And it is a sport that unfortunately is declining, and the market is saturated with other courses. So we're gonna have to do what's right for the district and its residents. So I had a question for you, though, just real quick on the slide. Back in 2012, 13, why was there such a huge dip? Just out of curiosity, you know, I need to.
2013,
This is where I need Prezi.
that's when
Okay.
Tiger
Yeah,
Woods.
right there. Why was the losses so great that year? What happened in 2012, 13? Am I
Yeah, our
reading that right? That it
expenditures
was-
exceeded our revenues that year by about $400,000. And I'd have to go back and research why that was the case.
I don't know if it was, nothing comes to mind with a big equipment purchase or something, or just
Right.
a big storm, a blizzard maybe that year shut it down for a while? No.
Because that was right after, or right before I came in, right at that, as a matter of fact. And so my goal, knowing what enterprise fund should be, is just the expenses should be matching the revenues, right? And so that's kind of what we tried to do going along. But as you see, you know, expenses, you can only control so much. There's still a lot of fixed expenses and things that we have to address, and the revenues just aren't there to support it. So that's frustrating for us. That's where we're at.
I think at that time, Chair Yearwood, I think there was like, I guess with the audit and all this, because there was like $150,000 loan or something that was pulled from the general fund, and according to the accountant, or so it had to be paid back because it was an enterprise fund, all that. So there was money that had to be
That particular transaction, I'm aware of that because it was on the books when I came in. We tried to trace that, and that actually went farther than that year. That was about 10 years before my time. So we had a hard time figuring out what that $100,000 was, but just hanging on the books, and so we just reversed it later on. But yeah, something major happened, and even 2 years before that, there was a big dip as well. You know, did we just continue spending without, you know, addressing the revenue situation? I'm not sure. Thinking that the general fund would subsidize regardless. Again, I wasn't here, but.
All right. Well, thank you. I look forward to your future report. All right.
Yeah. All right.
So are we at this point asking staff to come up with options and a little more study on it? Is that what we're doing?
So, yeah, I think direction-wise, what I heard was that the board is looking for some options to address this issue, obviously the big financial issue here, and possibly some recommendations from staff. Some additional research that we want to provide at that next opportunity would be something of the average of closure dates that we have had in comparison to previous years and maybe other agencies. And then also what other golf courses are doing to generate revenue and what their kind of financial situations are in the more immediate area. Because that map does definitely show a saturation of golf courses in our immediate area. So it would be a good benchmark to see our surrounding neighbors, how they're attracting folks.
And if I could add, I mean, I think Director Yearwood's point was well taken. What happened that year where there was a big dip, and in 2010, 11, there was a big dip? Was it economy? Was it weather? Was it transfer of funds? Because that's a big drop in revenue. So, you know, what caused the variations?
There's a lot of bouncing around up until it looks like it started getting in line in 2015, 16, and then it's been in line, relatively close in line since.
What's fascinating is the expenditure line, it mirrors the year after the revenue. So it's like they self-corrected the year after. They say, oh, our revenue is this, let's spend this, but they're always a year behind. And that's a dangerous place to be, obviously. Because you can have a loss every year regardless.
So just a little more, if we can. I mean, some of the staff weren't here at the time, but we'll do the best we can with the research we have.
Right, right. But it almost, in a way, you know, might speak to management.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
And then in terms of how many options, 3, 5, 2, how many would you prefer?
Well,
5.
I think 5 may be an unrealistic goal in a month, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to, the timing is huge, right? Because we have to come up with a budget. We have to know if we're going to hire internal staff, if we're going to go back to RFP, what we're going to do, put it on the market. We got to figure out what we're going to do in a very short period of time.
You
So, yeah.
also,
You say put on the market, what do you mean? But you mean you're going to sell the whole parcel to a housing development?
I don't
Is
know.
it gonna,
it's not zoned for that.
it's going to be
I
what?
don't know what our
So in all honesty,
abilities are.
that is going to be an option, is for us to sell these parcels to get us out of this financial. That is one of the options that would be a logical option to provide, not the only one, but one of them.
Well,
It should be, and then I just wanted to say, one of the things I do remember when the RFP had gone out, one of the concerns was the fact that they wanted us to improve it first, right?
Exactly.
To put money into it to be able to even for them to start. And so one of the things I want to know also is hopefully there's a lot of possibilities that pumps might go out. I mean, there are certain equipment that may need almost immediate attention, you know.
Right,
if
and
we're
that's
gonna
why I
move
broke it
forward.
up
So you have to
into
write that
essential core
up.
services, things that we strategically think about
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then
that's
those
in-
kind of items.
That's in this report.
Yeah.
That slide shows kind of the more immediate realities of what we need to look at.
Just like the
Also, the opportunity for the finance and budgeting committees coming up
Oh.
very soon, so we can dive deeper into this discussion as well at that time for sure.
so I think,
Okay.
would we agree maybe about 3 options?
We can bring back 3
Yeah.
options
Yeah.
and then go from there.
And if you have a 4th one, whatever, at least 3,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the direction.
All right, so we will move on to, E, there's no committee reports. F, no public hearings, so we'll go to G, regular calendar.
Thank you, Chair Yearwood. Item G1 is to adopt Resolution 18/19-38, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by California Code of Regulations, Section 570.5. And I'll turn it over to Human Resource Manager White.
Hi, thank you. I'm bringing this item again every time we make or add or remove a title or replace a title on our schedule here. I do need to bring it to the Board of Directors, and I have 2 amendments that I'm looking to bring to you today. There are 2 titles. The first one is General Manager. And so what we looked at is within the Park District communities, so if you've worked in park districts or you know other park districts within the area, the leader of that organization is typically or frequently is district administrator. But if you're outside of that community or other special district, or if you're in a larger agency, the person who runs that operation is typically called the general manager. So if you speak to another agency, they may not know exactly what that district administrator title represents. And so we're looking to, since we are in a growth, change the title from district administrator to general manager. There would be no change to the salary. That's something that you do in a different process at a different time of year, but it would change just Patrick's title alone, and there would need to be some changes internally to do that. But there are like general manager subject conferences, there are other agencies and other areas where that's typically the title that's used. And so we're looking to make that change, especially because we're looking at changing that assistant district administrator title as well. So you don't want an assistant district administrator when there's not a district administrator. We would need to make those changes to match other large agencies. And that's something you'll see us do from time to time, kind of realign our titles to match other organizations positions that are similar in size, so that they translate, or when we're recruiting, people know what type of positions that we have. So the general manager is the title we're looking to change, and then we're looking to change the assistant district administrator to director of parks and recreation. And for us, that person would oversee parks and recreation, which interchange and work together so closely, it makes sense for our organization that that title will oversee those two departments that depend on each other so frequently. And with that, there will be some financial impact. We haven't looked at the assistant administrator title or the salary for many years. We haven't had it since, boy, off the top of my head, probably around 2007, 2006 or 7. So we haven't done any analysis on that for a very long time. And so I did an analysis of 8 agencies. It's not, typically is usually under cities, and it's a highly paid position because it's usually running that whole department for a city. So we tried to come up with what was the right salary within our organization. And so what we're looking at is who's the second in line, what's the percentage between the top person and the second in line person? It's about 20%. And so that's where we came up with the new salary range for the Director of Parks and Recreation. So we want to make the title changes at the same time so that they work together and they're not contradicting each other, and we'd like to do that moving forward. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer it.
Anyone have any questions? All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 18/19-38, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by California Code of Regulations, Section 570.5, as recommended by staff.
Motion by Director Reyes, a second.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Reyes?
Aye.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Secretary Sloan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Danzel?
Aye.
And Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are we going to move on to G2, or do you?
We've received a request for public comment on the golf course item, if the board would like to entertain it at this time.
Sure. Absolutely.
Then I'd like to call to the podium Jim Marta.
Good.
Thank you for seeing me. Just a little history about the golf course first, and then I'll get with it. In 1991, or actually from 1988, or in mid-'80s to the mid-'90s, the golf course was #1 in rounds of golf through all of Sacramento. Okay, it was published by the Sacramento Bee every year. Okay. And that was nice to see, but it's pretty hard on a golf course. Getting 100, we actually in 1991 we had 122,000 rounds of golf, which is incredible. Can you imagine what your lawns would look like with that many people walking across it? It was very tough on the golf course, and there was not as many golf courses, and golf was thriving then. It was really going strong. But I was always proud to say we were always ahead of Ansel Hoffman. The pro would always call me and goes, "Is this right? What's going on down in there like that?" But we were always #1, and since 1988 to 2008, the golf course averaged a profit for the district $200,000 each year, on average over that period of time. And that's when a dollar was a real dollar then too. Okay, and we were doing pretty well, and none of that money was put into any infrastructure whatsoever. We did get some cart pass, but I think that was some grant money. But we were not receiving any money to improve things. And the golf course got tired, got wore out, and needed a little help. But we didn't get a lifeline at all. There was no help as far as that was concerned. And the golf course basically their mode of operation was to make the golf course affordable for the blue collar worker. the seniors and the juniors, and it did. They were out there a lot, and that's the only course that they could learn how to play. And our golf course is the site. It's not a big golf course. It's not a real small golf course. It's right in the middle, right where it could be where it should be with a small golf course. Not fun, but Cordova can be a lot of fun. But it has to be maintained. It needs to be rejuvenated a little bit and cleaned up. And I'm not talking about throwing lots of money out at it, but we just need a little bit of extra money out there. And I'm not begging for money. I'm just saying the golf course deserves that. I mean, the people who play the golf course deserve that. And we had a pretty bad run.
Seconds, Mr. Marta. 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. But anyway, it's not like a lot. If we did 20 golfers a day, average 20 golfers a day, that was $93,000. And do you think Cordova could bring in 20 extra golfers a day? If the course was good, it was playable year round, but we went through about 5 years of the greens being in horrible condition, and it has that reputation of it's Cordova, And we're real close to changing that with a new restaurant and different things, and VJ's just done an incredible job. Make sure you tell him I said so, okay? But he's done an incredible job, and it was the second year of him being there, we increased the revenue by 30%. Revenues at the golf course went up 30%. And then things changed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Marta, you have to
Okay,
wrap up.
thank you. Thank you.
I thought she did that. All righty. We're going to move on to G2 now.
Thank you. Item G2 is to authorize the district administrator to execute a 3-year consulting services agreement with Francisco and Associates Incorporated for tax engineering services in the amount of $192,000 plus any future annexations. And I'll turn it over to Finance Manager Matt Goodell.
All right, good evening again. So this contract is to continue the current tax engineering consulting services that we use with Francisco and Associates. It is for a 3-year contract with a not to exceed amount of $64,000 per year. I do want to note that if a community facilities district assessment does not have any parks or amenities, if it's brand new, for example, the Glenboro and Easton Place assessment, that CRPD will not be charged for that year, okay? Because we don't know when development's going to take place. So to be safe, this is a 3-year contract, has to be included. Also, future annexations will be $5,500 for that process. CRPD gets reimbursed from the developers directly. Finance department will bill them and will receive that money back, okay? And I'm also requesting a minor change to the contract itself. On page 29, item number 2 states that Francisco and Associates will perform and complete aquatic consultancy services, and that is not correct. They will not be doing that. And so we need to strike the word aquatic from that item, on item number 2. Otherwise, this is a 3-year contract moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
I just have a quick question. Is this the second contract? How many years has this company been doing the assessments? Do you know?
$2,008. Okay. 2000.
So maybe assuming the motion passes, at some point you might want to think about an RFP.
Go back to RFP.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're very pleased with their services, and I know they've done a stellar job in their cleanup and where we are today. So, but duly noted.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
Okay, I move that the district administrator execute a 3-year consulting services agreement with Francisco and Associates Incorporated, FAI, for tax engineering services in the amount of $192,000 plus any future annexations.
With amendments.
With amendments, yeah.
As amended.
Thank you.
Motion by Director Leinbach. A second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Danzel. Roll call vote.
Director Reyes?
Aye.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Secretary Sloan? Aye. Vice Chair Danzel?
Aye.
and Chair Yearwood.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. G3.
Thank you. Item G3 is to authorize the district administrator to issue a notice inviting bids for the construction of Rosemont Community Park improvements. And I'll welcome Planner Christina James to the podium.
Good evening, Chair Yearwood, members of the board. In February, your board approved a grant contract with SHRA in the amount of $202,000 for the ADA improvements at Rosemont Community Park. And tonight, we're here before you to ask for your approval of those bid documents. If approval is received, we will issue the bid documents as soon as that grant contract is executed. Just wanted to give the board an update that we have not yet received the grant contract from SHRA, and in conversation with them last week, they want to make sure we don't go out to bid until that contract is fully executed. These federal grants can take a while sometimes. So likely we'll be before you in June if we get good bids with a contract for that project, a construction contract. So tonight we're asking for your approval to go out to bid. Any questions?
So they don't mind if you go out to bid, they just don't want you to sign anything.
Yeah, well, they don't want us to go out to bid. So tonight we're asking for the board approval to make sure that we pass that hurdle because we need board approval for formal bids.
Okay.
But SHRA doesn't want us to, my hope was tomorrow to issue, the bid documents to bidders, but I can't issue them per SHRA until we have a signed contract with them, a signed grant contract, and they haven't gotten that to us yet.
But if we approved it,
You approved it.
then you can,
They're working on it, but we don't have it in hand yet. So we need to wait for that to be signed until we actually send the bid documents out to contractors. So once we have that grant contract signed, it's just a formality, but
Then you can move right away, not wait for the next
then we
board
can
meeting.
move right away. But I wanted to let the board know because our hope was we could have a construction contract before you in May. And because of this delay with the federal grant contract, the fact that we don't have that yet and the fact we have to wait on pressing the send button on the bid docs, we may not have that construction contract before you until June or hopefully June at the latest.
So that was actually going to push this project into the next fiscal year, correct?
No, it will still be 1920 because we have until, it will be done in 1920, but my hope was that it would be done by July and it may be August or September, so.
in the year
the fiscal year
2020.
ends
This summer,
June
yeah,
30.
later this summer.
Yeah, that's 20. Yes, because 1920
2021.
is from,
It's the
it's a July to the,
December 30th.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it will be done in that period. is what you're saying.
it'll be done in
So-
that period.
It's this year, but it's July 1st through December instead of
So
January
2019.
through June.
Right, but it's a different fiscal year. So it was budgeted for in the current fiscal year ending June 30, right? So it's going to get pushed into the next fiscal year?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
We'll encumber the money into next fiscal year.
Yeah.
All right.
So what I'm understanding you say is if we go ahead and we approve this, then if between now and the next board meeting, SHRA says it's okay to put out bids, then our general manager can put out
Right,
the bids. Okay,
Correct.
Okay.
What we,
got
yeah,
it,
we
got it.
needed your approval to do that as well.
Okay.
So that's why we're here tonight.
Okay,
So
got it.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I move the Board of Directors authorize the district administrator to issue a notice inviting bids for the construction of Rosemont Community Park improvements.
All right. Motion by Secretary Sloan.
I will second that motion.
All right. Seconded by Director Limbach. Roll call vote.
Director Reyes,
Aye.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Secretary Sloan, Vice Chair Danzel,
Aye.
and Chair
Aye.
Yearwood.
All right. G4.
Thank you.
Item G4 is to authorize the district administrator to issue informal bid documents for the installation of new UV filter systems at White Rock Splash Park and sign contract documents with the lowest responsible bidder. And I'll turn it back over to Planner James.
So this project was budgeted in the 18-19 fiscal year. We identified at the beginning of the fiscal year there was a problem at White Rock. There was a delay on the project in terms of organization and project management due to staff changes in park services. And also, the district decided to, in order to make sure we were solving the problem accurately, we contracted with Aquatic Design Group so they could give us an analysis of the UV systems and make sure we weren't just contacting a private company, a single company, but rather getting an objective consultant opinion. So we did contract with ADG. They provided bid documents for us, and tonight we're asking for approval to issue those bid docs for informal bidding, and also for our district administrator to sign the contract documents with the lowest responsible bidder, so that we can have something running and in place. The goal is to have that in place by Memorial Day weekend. It's coming close, and we can run into things like lead times for equipment delivery, which may push it past that weekend. But staff is hoping we can issue those bids tomorrow and get everything rolling and have the facility up and running and in place by May.
All right, anyone, any questions or comments?
I have some questions. So the lifespan of these filters have about, that's at what they've lasted, how long they're supposed to last?
I believe so. The White Rock facility is 2010.
2010 when that was real.
8 years, how fast.
So about eight,
So
Oh my
8
God.
years?
we're due. There's also been issues with that particular supplier, and the Siemens, the supplier that supplied our old product, they no longer are in business, and so it's been very difficult for our park staff to get bulbs and parts. So we'll likely be going with some of the other equipment that ADG has recommended that are more local. So getting parts will be easier, and being able to get help when things are, I mean, these are incredibly complicated systems. And so we want to make sure that we have something in place that Park Services can maintain.
I would just imagine that some of these products would have a longer lifespan than just 8 years.
Yeah, warranty.
You know, my pool filter is 10 years old.
I don't think your pool gets that kind of use, though.
When we
I don't know
open
what's going on at the
for the
Sloan
summer,
household, but
you'd be surprised when we open for the summer.
You got it right there.
I think I'm charging too much. Thank you.
all right.
So I'd like to authorize the district administrator, I'd like to move that we authorize the district administrator to issue informal bid documents for the installation of new UV filter systems at the White Rock Splash Park and sign contract documents with the lowest responsible bidder.
All right, motion by Director Reyes,
Second.
second by Vice Chair Danzel. Roll call vote.
Director Reyes?
Aye.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Secretary Sloan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Danzel?
Aye.
And Chair Yearwood?
Aye. All right, so looks like we're going to move on to H, Board of Directors items.
Thank you. Item H1, board member reports. H1A for training, there was none this last period. So H1B is board member community activities and meetings report.
All right, doesn't look like Director Reyes had any.
No, I don't have any, except for the fact that we will be attending the California Association of Parks and Recreation board members, commissioners and board members dinner tomorrow night and receive an award.
All right, Director Lineback.
Yes, I attended the Rosemont Community Association meeting on March 7th, and PMRID Vice Chair, I guess is the correct title, Ryan Brown, came and gave the association an overview of the presentation that the PMRID had been given by district staff for the capital improvement proposed capital improvement projects for the coming fiscal year. And I want to note that he, was very complimentary of district staff. He really appreciated the level of detail that they were being shown, clearly indicating that the oversight responsibilities of the board were being supported by the district. And he appreciated that and complimented the district staff on that. He was very enthusiastic. I think the RCA enjoyed him. I thought he represented what the district was doing very well. And so that's my report.
All right, thank you. Secretary Sloan?
Okay, we'll start with last month, February 26th, I attended the BRECA Community Steering Committee meeting. And there wasn't a lot of questions about the parks, but they are having their annual general meeting coming up in March, and I want you guys to put it on your calendar. It's going to be for the 23rd, April 23rd. So just let you guys know about that. The next thing was on 3/10, I attended the tree planting at Dave Roberts Park and Williamson Elementary School. And put on by, it was another one of those great partnerships between the Cordova Rec and Park District, the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, the City of Rancho Cordova, and the Sacramento Tree Foundation. And I learned a lot about planting a tree, and I feel confident that if I brought something home from a nursery, I could give it a great start. I didn't know, I never knew where the actual mouth of a tree was. And do you guys have any idea where that is? Yeah, you don't, do you? It's right where the base of the trunk meets the roots, right there, down there. Who thought that? I never would have thought that. But anyway, that was very, very educational, and I just really appreciate that opportunity. It was Patrick was out there, and it was a nice day, really nice day. The next thing on the next day was the RCAA meeting, Rancho Cordova Athletic Association, and Nina was also there representing the district. We talked about the sprinklers at Alstrom Park, the $6,000 to $9,000 price tag to complete that project. There was a problem with the 3 zones of, I guess it had 4-inch pipe, and they needed that had to be 4-inch pipe, and it wasn't 4-inch pipe. But whatever the person was putting in was wrong, so we stopped it and we made sure they did the right thing. The next thing was talking about the turf maintenance over for rugby at Hagen Park. I think it's that parcel next to where the Soilborn Farm is. So that area there, they're talking about putting some money into it. A very interesting thing happened. A couple of, I'll call them kids, but they were probably 25, 26, 28 years old. They were former track stars and cross-country stars for Cordova. One went on to college sports and actually was very, very successful. They have mentioned to try to start up a cross-country and track and field club for youth in Rancho Cordova, which I thought was a great thing, because that's one field that we really, the kids don't get a taste of it until middle school. They really don't. You don't have the little kids doing it, and maybe that's where you have to create that interest. So that just was something that I'm going to be following up on, because it's just a great opportunity, and it might be a possibility where there could be a partnership with the Park District on that project. And that should be it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Danzel doesn't have anything, and I have one thing to report on, and it was the CPRS District 2 Awards Banquet back on March 7th. It's always nice to attend events, well, especially because the district was being recognized, but it's seems like my first introduction to that organization, so it seems like a great program, and they do scholarships and great things like that. So it was a great event until I went out into the parking lot and somebody pointed out I had a flat tire. So, yes, so that is all I have. So I guess we'll move on to H2.
Thank you. Item H2A is to nominate a member of the Board of Directors to run for election to a 3-year term on the Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee and adopt Resolution 18/19-39 supporting the nomination and service on the committee if elected. So due to a term expiring, Sacramento County is seeking a special district representative on this oversight committee. It does have specific requirements for experience and knowledge in public finance. I did check with this committee to see if there would be any kind of conflict of interest, since we already do have representation on the redevelopment oversight board, and there would be none. If the board desires to take action, the nominee would be required to provide a resume and candidate statement, and those are due prior to April 5th. Thank you.
All right. Is anyone even interested?
I had one person in mind, and I've already talked to that person, and they weren't interested. So I really have nobody in mind. Unless there's somebody else who would
I
like
think
to.
we're pretty much
Well, I don't,
out.
yeah.
You know, everyone's everywhere already, I think. And
yeah, we
I
don't have
think-
I don't have a
No,
financial
no,
background like
it's,
that.
it's probably
definitely
more
don't have the qual-
complicated than that. So I think at this time, I suggest we pass on it.
Are we good?
I would have let Matt.
Problem is, he has to run for office first.
I move
He
the
has
Board of
to move.
Directors passes on H2.
Okay, no action will be taken. Thank you.
Thank you. That's hard.
So item H2B is to nominate a district representative to run for election to a 3-year term on the California Special Districts Association, CSDA, Board of Directors, Seat B, and adopt Resolution 18/19-40 supporting the nomination and service on the board if elected. As you know, there are 6 networks within CSDA. Each network has 3 seats on the board. Currently, Seat B is up. These positions are open to board members and general managers. There is no requirement for the district to be a member of the Risk Management Association for CSDA. The terms for this seat are 3 years, and the time commitment is listed there for you in the report. CSDA will reimburse expenses for meeting attendance only, but not for the conferences or the academy. The incumbent for this seat is seeking re-election, but that does not prevent us from submitting a nomination, and those nominations are due by April 17th. Thank you.
All right, so I
Anybody
think we've
interested?
kind of come to agreement. I don't think any of us are interested in.
I think we're so spread out, but it does say that it's open to general manager. Now that we have a general manager,
Would you want to?
I don't know, would you find,
I'd be honored to be nominated if that's what you choose.
Oh,
okay.
so would anybody like to make a?
So I'll move that the board nominate our general manager, Patrick Larkin, to run for election to a 3-year term on the California Special Districts Association Board of Directors, Seat B, and adopt Resolution 18/19-40, supporting the nomination and service on the board if elected.
All right, a motion by Director Reyes.
Yay.
Second by Vice Chair Danzel. Roll call vote.
Director Reyes,
Aye.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Secretary Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Danzel,
Aye.
and Chair Yearwood.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, looks like we're moving on to.
We have representation. Yay.
Maybe, yeah.
My hat in the ring, why not, right?
The current incumbent has been there a long time, so it might be time for change.
Yeah, so good luck, and we hope, we wish you, well, go get it.
There's a lot of
So we'll be
incumbents. There's 1, 2,
represented there.
I'll put a yard sign in my yard. Just
That's
kidding.
wonderful. And then it's on you.
I'll get on that.
Better you.
All right, moving on to
Go get them.
Thank you. Item I1 is the district-wide monthly progress report for March, and I'll turn it over to General Manager Larkin.
Thank you. So just some highlights for the past month. I had a meeting with the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Superintendent. We had a great conversation about current joint projects and shared information about things that of our interest of both of our agencies, and it went really well. We're working very well with their staff in regards to the Alstrom Park potential renovation plans that they're looking for Little League, as well as we're discussing plans for some potential upgrades at Peterson Field at Hagan Park. So that was a great meeting. The CAPRCMBM, that's close, right? Awards banquet is tomorrow evening. The district will be receiving an Outstanding Projects Award for Heron Landing Park. And I will be attending along with some directors and some staff. So just a reminder about that. Also, our board retreat is scheduled officially for Wednesday, April 3rd at 4:30. More information will be coming on specifics with that. And also the CARPD conference, the annual CARPD conference is scheduled for May 22nd through the 25th in South Lake Tahoe. Conference registration and hotel reservations have been completed for board members and myself. Thank you. Clark Jones. We, in an effort to be entrepreneurial and look at some different revenue sources, we are, one of our major goals is for the district to enhance services with resources collected outside of tax-dependent dollars. Cell towers within parks and adjacent to park lands offer an opportunity for both residents to obtain excellent mobile cell service for the district to collect property rental use for revenue. Staff was approached by a wireless company to build a tower near Zinfandel and Corvina for a T-Mobile cell tower site. The desired area chosen by the wireless company and district is near a drainage swale and camouflaged amongst trees. So there's a report coming forward in April with a recommendation from them and an offer for an agreement similar to what we have had at the Mather site. So just a little bit of a different way of getting some unconventional ways of revenue. So thank you, Matt, for following up with that and bringing it to the point where we'll be presented that in April. As I mentioned, we are completed with the Alstrom Park Little League fields. We worked closely with the Little League to renovate the field. Park Supervisor Martin Fonseco, as well as Jim Morales, worked with Dennis La Mancha of Rancho Cordova Little League, and they hired a contractor on replacing the irrigation system for the field, and it was ready for their opening day this Saturday, and it looked fantastic out there. So thank you to the staff for being so flexible and getting it done right the first time. So that's always a goal. Some other highlights is we were able to renovate the Youth Street Hockey League had their official start, and they're now returning. Families have enjoyed the rebuild of our outdoor hockey rink. So that is at Mather, and that should be going well. Of note, just today and tomorrow, we have our great park planning manager, Laura Taylor, is presenting at our CPRS conference, and she's presenting with LPA on our pool project. And so she's teaching people how great we are in terms of how this project has a very rich story about where it started and to where we are. And there's definitely lessons we can share with folks in helping them with their projects. So thank you, Laura. You're representing us great, so I appreciate that. Also, we will be starting, hopefully soon, the Riviera East Walkway Improvement Projects. Rain has you know, doesn't seem to stop. So we are still planning on moving forward with that. We are waiting for the conditions to dry out, and then we will be going full-fledged forward once that happens. And that concludes my report.
Aren't those walkways soft now to be taken out during that they're watered?
It doesn't work that way.
No, then, okay.
I actually, if I could bring it back to the report on the CRPD digest, I guess, and Neil Orchard newsletters not being in the packet anymore. And I do think that the senior center newsletter goes to all of the interested parties, but isn't the digest really district-wide? And it just seems to me that would be a type of communication appropriate to be in the board packet.
So in speaking with Chair Yearwood, we had decided to look at some efficiencies, and one of the efficiencies that we recognized was certain things being put in the board packets. The quality of what we were getting, the pictures were blackened and it was hard to kind of see. So we decided to pull that out and give it to you guys electronically as a separate document away from the board submission as a packet.
If I recall, the digest actually goes out to the senior center people there. So they're seeing it, and those are.
No, I was just saying the senior center newsletter has a more defined audience, where the CRPD digest is really district-wide. And that's why it seemed like.
It is going out electronically, the district digest, to everyone's emails that are on our email distribution
Right,
list,
no,
as
I
well
know
as
that.
publicly. So that was an efficiency we decided that we would feel it would be appropriate because it was already out in public, and it is recorded in that manner. So
I mean, all of our program stuff goes out electronically to everybody.
Right. And so in terms of an
So
efficiency, it
we're
was.
getting copies of postcards and advertisements and all the other stuff that's sort of district communication. I just don't quite get it, frankly.
You want to add to this?
Yeah, so the newsletter for the seniors, excuse me, does go out, like you said, to the senior center. We also put it on our website every month. So if you go to the NOSAC, the Neil Orchard Senior Activities page on our website, it's on there, as well as the digest. And is Katie, or maybe you mentioned last month that Katie has started a new blog for CRPD. And so all of our newsletters, all of our news stories, anything that we produce, she's also putting on that blog so that people can look at it in a clean manner and the pictures show up nice and bright. So we are doing some other things other than just the board packet to be able to get that information out to the entire community. So
I have a different take, that's all.
Well, I mean, you get it's because it comes out. Well, it comes out looking like this. I mean, it's hard to read and all that in our board packet. I mean, is your concern that people aren't, because it's not in our board packet, aren't going to see it, or?
No, I think it's like communication to the public, and that's this. So to me, it was kind of a technicality because you're saying that you're sending it to the board. But technically, the public should see everything that the board sees when the board sees it, and that's what the board package does, is that all the communications with the board are also communicated to the public. And so anybody who wants to know what the board is seeing goes to the board packet. That's all. That's all how I was thinking of it, is that as like a, board disclosure becomes public disclosure. And so I was kind of a little unsure, where the board is getting copies of other communications that happen because the board should know what communications happens. And that comes out in the board packet, that this seemed to be carved out for a reason I, wasn't really clear on.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part was it wasn't a good quality. That was probably the most, driving force of it. The quality of it was very poor, and it, was just a lot of paper, honestly. So. Yeah, it's in a lot of electronic places. But I have to admit, I didn't think about what you were thinking about there, about what we get, everybody should get kind of thing, even though they do, in a sense, do get it,
The
right?
digest is actually released much earlier than the board package goes out, so it's actually going to the public before the board.
Unless we go out looking for it, right? All right. Anyone else? All right, so I guess we will, informational items.
Yes, actually, as part of the prior item, we do have the Board of Directors invitation page. If you would like to take a look on that, page 79, we have the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon on April 10th at 11:30 at the Senior Center. We have Hoppin' and Huntin' at Hagen on Saturday, April 20th at 8:30 a.m. Kids Day in the Park, which is hosted by the Community Council on Saturday, April 27th, 11 a.m. at Hagen. We also have a community outreach meeting for the Williamson properties on Monday, April 29th at the Cordova Church of Christ at 6 p.m. And then we have a community outreach meeting regarding a restroom addition at Cavala Ranch Park on Monday, May 6th at 6 p.m. And that's at the park site. And then we kind of discussed informational items unless there's any further questions, and the calendar is also part of that item.
All right.
Are we going to have a booth at Kids Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kids Day in our park.
Well branded
Well,
booths?
we're gonna take the kids there.
Well branded? Okay. Sorry.
We
That's,
got that covered.
okay, that's been my peeve for a couple of years, so. All right, sorry. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, well, if,
Just wanted to comment, Chair Yearwood, did you get your invitation to the volunteer luncheon? It just looks better and better and better every year. I think this was a very nicely put together invitation, and I think when it goes out to the others that are invited, I just want you to know, please commend staff on this. I liked it very much. I thought to myself it was so much better than what we had long time ago. It was getting better and better and better.
They do a really nice
But
job.
this is awesome.
Thank you.
I think, very good.
I hope you all can attend.
Yep.
I do have one announcement to make for the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center, if you don't mind. So unfortunately, this week, this is tough. We lost a cherished member of the senior center in our community. It's Minnie. I think her last name's O'Connor. Is that correct? She did pass away. This was on Monday. So our hearts go out to her and her family and to all of our senior staff members and the senior community. She will be missed. It was 30 years that she was part of that senior center. And it's like a family member. It's just, she has done so much for CRPD and that community and that senior center, and she will be very missed. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Thank you.
thank you. Terrible news. All right, if there's no other business, we'll adjourn this meeting at 8:18 until the next regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Cordova Recreation Park District, which is on Wednesday, April 17th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m.
Good, good.